Hey there, this is Andy Grider. I'm your host and producer for Unique This Week, which is a production of Uniqueness is Power. Unique This Week's a show where we're going to talk to folks that are blue ocean, that are doing something different, something remarkable, something unique, and out there in a way that is producing benefits for companies. Might give you a new way to think about things, might give you a new tool to work with your employees or a new service. Today, we are very fortunate to have Jervis DiCicco here, who is one of the founder of ProsperBridge and CEO. He is somebody that helps turn paychecks into progress, which right there alone is a unique idea because there aren't that many people that manage to do that. We've got a huge problem in our country that you guys help address, Jervis. Thanks for being here, and looking forward to this. This is going to be fun.
Thank you, Andy. It's my pleasure to be here.
Well, you've got a background that runs from Mass Mutual to JP Morgan to Lincoln, a lot of the big players, and even BlackRock, I think I saw on the resume. So, I mean, there's an awful lot of people out there that would say, when they look at what ProsperBridge does, how did you get from there to here? So let's start with a little bit of your backstory, a little bit about you, and talk about how you moved from a corporate mentality and machine to a much more let's just say, I don't know. I'm looking for the right word, compassionate model.
Sure. Yeah, I think, the best place to start is, way back when I was a kid, I was super interested in finance. My dad and my stepdad were both in finance. Used to love to read the Wall Street Journal in the morning, won the stock market game in high school. I was actually just talking to someone yesterday who also won it. And both of us still remembered the stocks we bought, so it was that meaning. I don't know how many people that played the stock market game, but I bet almost none of them remember what stocks they bought. And so, it's always sort of been part of my makeup to be interested in finance. And to your point, yes, I've worked with a lot of the major financial institutions in this country. And so actually that's given me a unique perspective on just how broken the financial system is. And I think the best way to illustrate that is my personal story. In 2009, in the span of 12 months, four really awful things happened to me. I lost my marriage suddenly and unexpectedly. I lost 80% of my income. I lost my father. He died again suddenly and unexpectedly. He was healthy and woke up dead the next morning. And I lost my house. And when I went back to my financial team, because every good financial professional has their own financial team, they said, there's nothing we can do for you. We can help when you've got money to give us. We can help when you've got investment decisions to make or insurance to buy. But when you're in crisis and you don't have any money, the system is not built to help you. And that stuck with me, Andy. And so for a long time, I was taking the opposite track of most financial planners. I was acquiring more and more clients with fewer and fewer assets, trying to figure out how to help the people that really needed help get ahead, and came to the conclusion that I was going to have to do something completely different. And that's what ProsperBridge was born out of. How do we help the people that really need the help? Instead of just, I'm proud of the work I did as a planner, but I was almost universally helping people that were already in a really good spot, and I was just putting them in a much better one.
Right. You termed in one of the pieces I saw that a financial advisor's biggest role is to be a catalyst for progress. And, to that end, and you just sort of touched on it, ProsperBridge is helping fill that space for not just those who are going to be in a good position and now a better one. It's going to be for everyone across the board. So let's talk about a little bit about the hows and the whys. I mean, first of all, obviously your own personal experience is a powerful one and led you to there, but there's a huge crisis in America that actually has gotten worse since the pandemic in the financial side of things. Let's talk about that a little bit and what position people have been put in here.
I mean, my story is not unique. Lots of people have gone through similar crises, and people go through them all the time. I love what you just said, or you said what I said. The role of a financial advisor is to catalyze progress in someone's life. Everybody needs that, right? We all need that person that could be a catalyst for progress in our life. And ProsperBridge started with the question, what if everyone had that person? Right? That's the whole foundation of ProsperBridge is what if everyone, not just the people that didn't really need it, But what if everyone had access to that person? And, credit card debt, understanding things like insurance and estate planning, dealing with budgeting issues, knowing where to put your next dollar if you're lucky enough to have positive cash flow. And then if you're in a really good spot, what's retirement going to look like? These are mysteries that people are dealing with on a daily basis, and the stress from those things is killing people. So you asked for some statistics. 73% of Americans identify money as their dominant source of stress. That is huge. And if we can alleviate even some of that, we feel really good about the work we're doing.
Right, right. Well, and it pushes its way over to being a problem for the employer too. I mean, it's bad enough when the employee is under stress, but I believe if I remember the statistics correctly, it's 34 or thereabouts work days per year in lost productivity for every single financial stressed employee. Plus, they're a lot more likely to experience anxiety, depression, be looking for a new job, starting fights in the workplace. There's all sorts of things that tie back to financial stress. So when you say you're able to be a financial catalyst for each of these folks, or catalyst for progress for each of these folks, let's talk about how that's a benefit that everybody can use. Because we also know everybody throws these perks and everything else out that are cool looking, maybe, sort of.
Right.
But not even really, because they're not something that's ever explained, and B, they're not exactly what the employee needs. So if we can get somebody out of financial stress, what does that look like, Jervis?
Yeah, well, that's a great question, because it looks different for everyone, right? What's stressing you is not the same thing that's stressing me. And what's stressing your lower income employees is typically not the same thing that's stressing your higher income employees, although there is a shared stressor that almost all Americans struggle with, which is debt. And no matter where you are, no matter what your resource set is, we're going to help you. So I think maybe the best way to answer your question, and those are some great, that was some great information you shared. I would consolidate that, all of those things that you were talking about, down to say, if you're an organizational leader, okay, you're talking about 15 to 15.5% of your total salary spend. That's the cost of financial stress in your organization. Okay, so it's one of the biggest hidden costs on a balance sheet right now. And that's just, by the way, Andy, that's just factoring in lost productivity and increased turnover. It's not factoring in the fact that you're 9 times as likely to have troubled relationships at work. You mentioned that. It's not factoring in that impact that stress has on your mental and physical well-being, and how that is going to impact your bottom line if you're providing health insurance. So, it's a huge problem. But for someone that's in lower middle income, credit card debt is a very common issue that they're dealing with. And most people will just try to keep paying it and paying it and paying it, and never get out of that cycle of debt, right? You knock some off, something comes up, a flat tire, a broken water heater, whatever it is, and then you have to go back into credit card debt. Yep. Credit card companies know this, and they want to keep you stuck there, right? If you're always living on the edge of your means, that means you're always going to have to go to your credit cards when there's a challenge, or worse, right? Credit cards, if you're lucky, you might have to go to payday loans. Do you know, by the way, the average annual interest rate on a payday loan, Andy?
I'm going to guess 29%.
391%.
Whoa! Huh.
Yeah, you are a lot closer to the average on credit cards. So credit cards, if you're lucky, title loans, payday loans, there's much worse stuff out there if you're not. And by the way, that's not an attack on payday lenders, though I'm obviously not a fan of them. But the reality is they exist to fill a need, right? If credit card companies won't give you credit and you need something, so shame on us for having a financial system that requires payday lenders and enables them to thrive, right? We should be providing people with better solutions. So if you're in that lower middle income space, you need to figure out, okay, number one, am I in the bankruptcy threshold? Because that's almost always the best choice for you if it's available to you. So if I can do Chapter 7 bankruptcy where I can eliminate all my debt, that's almost always your best choice. But let's say it's not available, or that's something you're just dead set against. We're going to help you navigate debt settlement or debt management. We just worked with someone who's emerging from benefits, emerging from government benefits. She has her first good job. She's making over $60,000 a year, but she has $18,000 in credit card debt. Okay, she didn't want to go through bankruptcy, felt like that wasn't who she was. And so we helped her settle $5,000 in debt. So right there, we put $5,000 in her pocket. Her debt's now down to $13,000, and cut her interest rate more than in half. Okay, and that difference to put in perspective how important that difference is, this is someone that just lost rent assistance. That difference allows her to now be cash flow positive. So these are hugely impactful changes. At the other end of the spectrum, there's a C-level executive we worked with. He and his wife had run up over $200,000 in debt between student loans and credit cards, and it was stressing them every day. We helped them build a plan to relocate, sell their house in a premium location, move to a more suburban location. They're working more remotely now anyway. It wasn't a big deal, and completely wipe out all of that debt, in the course of that process. So no matter where you are on the financial spectrum, we can provide the advice, we can be the catalyst for real meaningful change that has a big impact on that stress, which ultimately has a big impact on you as an employee and therefore your employer.
Right. I mean, and so as an employee / as an employer, either way, this is something that, as we said earlier, it's a benefit that everybody gets to use. It works for everyone. And I think one of the misconceptions a lot of people have is that higher income people aren't stressed financially. And there couldn't be much further from the truth. It's about 4.2 out of 5 families that are living paycheck to paycheck at this point. That's a stat actually that Mass Mutual, one of your old companies, just blew out at the end of last year. So 84%. And that means literally, if you walk in somewhere and you're looking around, it's basically 9 of the 10 people that are around you, if you're not one of them. And if you are, then it's probably 7 or 8 of the other people around you. So you're in your company. I won't say if it's good company or not, because it really, it's not a great place to be. But as you said, if there's ways out, and that's important. So what you've described seems almost indescribably like there's no reason why somebody wouldn't want to do this. But what is keeping companies from latching on and engaging? What would be the biggest, oh, well, we can't do this because?
Yeah, I think there are 2 answers to that question. The first answer is just what we've been talking about. What we're doing is completely unique in the industry. The whole financial wellness industry is basically a mess. It's not doing what it's intended to do. Financial wellness programs have become ubiquitous in the last 5 years, and financial stress has exploded. So obviously it's not working. So we're selling blue ketchup, and it's always hard when you're selling blue ketchup to help people understand why they should even try that product that they don't really get, they've never seen before, and they're not really sure how it works. So we have to retell our story every time we have a meeting, right? This is not a simple thing to explain. The how we do what we do is pretty complex and very personal. The other reason simply is cost. So we cost $349 per employee per year, which is an insane value, Andy. We are putting $3,224 on average per person back in their pocket. Okay, so you pay $349 as an organization. $3,224 goes into the pockets of your people. Your organization on average gets back about $1,590. So we're an extreme value, but as a benefit at $349 per person per year, that probably doesn't fit in your budget, because most of the benefits world, the ancillary benefits world, is very inexpensive, very inefficient stuff. And so a lot of wellness budgets don't include enough room for our benefits. We have to help companies find the budget. And that's why we tend to have more success talking to leadership as opposed to just HR when we're having these conversations. Because if the CEO or the CFO don't get why they should spend this money, it's not going to happen.
Well, and aren't there to help you figure out how to save that money potentially. So, right. We've talked about removing consumer debt as part of a catalyst for progress. Huge piece. I mean, with the amount of people facing, tank loads of consumer debt, it's important, certainly. And like you said, it's not just credit cards, it's payday loans, it's other things like that. But let's talk about what else you address within the complex model that you have. What other types of things can you help someone with in being a catalyst for a positive financial future?
Well, let me turn that question around to you.
Okay.
And let me say, what are things that you've had as a challenge, or things that you can think of that people might have as challenges in dealing with not just financial management, but resource management in general?
Sure. Student loans.
Yes, we help with student loans, and we can help employers enhance their offerings for their employees for student loans. Okay, so we can help employers help the employees get that debt paid off faster. We can help the employees refinance that debt. We can help them access government programs like the loan forgiveness program. So yeah, student loans. Go ahead. What's next?
Okay. How about housing?
Oh, housing. One of my favorites. Number one, do you qualify for government benefits in any way, shape, or form? A lot of lower income employees don't realize that they may qualify for rent assistance or that there may be a down payment assistance program. Let me give you an example. A couple counties north of us, not my county, a couple counties north of us, every dollar you save, the county has a program, they will match $3 for first-time homebuyers. So you save $1, you get $4. Okay, that's pretty powerful, but most people don't even know about it. And here's another crazy thing, Andy. This is a government administered program. If you click the link on the government site related to this, it takes you to a broken, no longer active website. You literally have to know exactly where to go in order to access this benefit. So housing, absolutely, we can help with that. Go on, keep going.
How about your everyday expenses? I mean, probably the biggest thing people put on a credit card outside of emergencies is groceries.
That is right. You are correct. That is statistically true. The number one reason people are adding to credit card debt is to buy groceries. So how do we help with that? Well, let's leave the debt aside because we've already talked about that. Let's talk about budgeting. In our program, everybody gets access to automatic budgeting, meaning you link your accounts to our technology. Our technology automatically shows you your budget by category. And then I would add to that we would bring in a bill negotiation service, right? That would negotiate your cell phone bill, your internet bill, your cable bill, if you have options, potentially your utilities, to decrease those costs and find your subscriptions and potentially unused subscriptions and help you eliminate those expenses as well. So daily money management issues, absolutely.
Awesome. So I think we've touched on a lot of the big ones there. And,
yeah.
You mentioned the idea that it is tough for the CFO, CEO, executive team, ownership, whatever it is, whatever level we're at, to understand that $350 or thereabouts a year is a worthwhile spend. And it, at the same time, they're making back about 3 times, a little more than that, and the employee's making back almost 10 times of that. So when you can show them that part, does that assuage any of the concern?
For some people, it does. It's one of those things that no matter how well we tell the story, it's still blue ketchup. Right. Because you've never tried it before, because you've never used it before, you are still uncertain about what the outcomes will be. And so for some folks, we certainly share those statistics when we're presenting the product. And for some people, they say, wow, that sounds amazing. In fact, I got that comment earlier today. This is unbelievable in the best kind of way, is what I believe he said. But yeah, we're able to do it, and we're really proud of the work we do. And for the employers that are really intent on not just adding resources to what may already be a very busy resource set, but are intent on helping their people achieve the outcomes their people really want and need. And by the way, we help you as the employer understand what those things are too, and make sure that every dollar you're spending on compensation and benefits is being maximized. That's what we can do. We can turn income into outcomes, turn paychecks into progress.
Fantastic. Jervis, if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do it?
The best way to do it is probably via email. I am also on LinkedIn. Our company's email is info@prosperbridge.org. That's .org. And our website is prosperbridge.org.
Excellent. So I just want to say thank you very much for taking the time to be here today. I am always at a loss when people don't get this. I've looked at it for quite a while now. We've known each other for a few years. And I'm always incredulous that companies don't get where this can actually help. I do understand the bottom line issue of if the money's not there, the money's not there. But hey, I count me in for blue ketchup, Jervis. Count me in for blue ketchup, my friend. And I think one thing to end on is that a lot of employers, and I wondered if you were going to say this, might feel like some of this is their fault, like the high turnover rates and the stress and things like that. And it really isn't. This is a program that helps them become a hero, though, to their employees and really make a insanely positive difference and probably a tremendous retention difference in their life. Would that be?
Yeah, I love that you said this is not the fault of employers. The financial system is built to do exactly what it's doing, which is to keep people in perpetual scarcity and debt because it profits handsomely from that. And so it's not the fault of employers. Employers aren't the reason housing prices have gone up 6 to 7 times faster than income. Employers aren't the reason education costs have gone up almost 8 times faster than income. This is not their fault. But the reality is, for their sake and for their people's sake, they need to find a solution to this problem.
And that, I think, is the biggest key right there. So, folks, if you have an interest in helping your employees become financially viable again and take them into financial assurance instead of being in the financial exclusion world that they currently almost all live in because they don't have access to a financial advisor, this is a great way to get someone with those skill sets and some compassion and empathy to go along with it, to help your employees out. So again, very, very grateful to have you as a guest on this show here, Jervis. It's because of people like you that we get to have such great shows. Thank you for your time today.
Yeah, thank you, Andy. My pleasure to be here.
Awesome. My name's Andy Grider. This is Unique This Week, and we'll be back again next week with yet another amazing guest. Just keep your eyes and ears open. If you know somebody that would benefit from this, please forward it on to them. Please take the time out of your day to do a favor to a friend and send it along. Jervis, one last question. I can't believe I forgot to ask you this. What size companies are you looking for?
It's a great question. We're really looking for any company that has a real passion for taking care of their people. So we will break our own rules for the right mindset. But right now, we're finding a really good fit in the 50 to 500 employee space.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. And we will talk more soon, I am sure.
Absolutely. Thank you, Andy.